Hello, everyone, and welcome to Update 22. I'm Ryan Ferran, the Chief Communications Officer for the Arcadia Unified School District, and I am joined by our Superintendent, Dr. Van Alstall. Dr. Van Alstall, great to see you.
Always good to see you, Ryan, and great to be with everyone.
Thanks again for taking your time to do another update and another video to communicate with our students, staff, parents, and everyone in our community to kind of dive a little bit deeper. It is hard to believe, Dr. Van Alstall, we are now in week 11 of school closures since we closed down on March 13th. This has just been quite the journey. I know you, myself, our team, everybody's so proud of our students, our staff, our parents, and our community for coming together. Just a remarkable coming together for everyone to finish out this very unique school year. That being said, so 11 weeks with school closures, just 1 week to go before graduation, the end of the year. It just seems unbelievable to think about. What are your thoughts right now of where we've come, where we're at, and where we're going?
There's so many thoughts going on, but Ryan, right now I am just incredibly grateful for how far we've come since that March 13th. And obviously way before that, as you keep mentioning, we started in January with these updates. But I'm often reflecting right now back to what happened in March. And one of the things that I am very proud of is that we all know as a community there was a lot of questions and a lot of concerns for the safety of students and our teachers in the community. And one of the things we know in education, but most parents don't often think about, is how much the school district provides in just basic human services for our students on a daily basis, from meals and safety and et cetera. And so, it's always that it's a big decision to close down schools. We had what's going on with the COVID-19, but we also know that there's real consequences for shutting down. And there was a lot of pressure in those weeks leading up, and rightly so. There was a lot of concerns. And I think it's a testimony to our working relationship with the local officials and the health department, that when we got those guidelines, we were ready to go and were able to get that messages out to the schools on that Friday, in time for a lot of teachers to be able to send things home with students. But looking back, knowing that student and staff safety is the most important thing to us, knowing that no child or any staff member was infected with COVID-19 during that time from school. I'm very proud of that. And I think that's, again, a testimony to that working, often sometimes a tension in that relationship, because there's things that we have to do on the education side, and then there's the health guidelines. But I just want to thank everyone for just the way you responded when that happened, and to think now here we are closing down this school year that we never could have imagined, continuing to do that in a virtual setting. And I'm grateful for the leadership, our principals and department leads across the district, everything from ensuring that we were able to get students back in to get the stuff they need, and teachers closing down classrooms. There's just so much work that goes into closing a school district on a good year in regular terms, but this year especially. So it's just, again, a testimony to that collaboration and partnership between the home and the parents and students, teachers. We leaned on parents harder than we ever have to supervise their students during this, at home, online, virtual learning. And I'm a parent as well, and I've mentioned that the struggle is real, and I felt that. And because of that, I think I really am grateful to all our parents that stepped up. When we close out this year, coming up soon next week, I believe I can confidently say that every single person in the school community, from the students, the teachers, parents, support staff, have brought their very best each day to ensure that we could continue the best we could for kids. And I'm very proud of that.
So Dr. Van Alstall, as you mentioned, there's so much to be proud of. The last update in 21 we sent out last week, we talked about what next fall will look like, specifically from an academic standpoint, how there'll be some changes from our emergency guided distance learning where we're at now to having a little bit more time. Can you expand a little bit on update 21 and next year from an academic standpoint?
Sure. First, I want to just say thank you to Dr. Brent Forsey and his Ed Services team, as well as his collaborative work with the teachers union and their leadership, because this truly is a partnership as we move forward. I always tell people I can give you a plan tomorrow. It might not be the best plan, and the people that actually have to implement it might not know anything about it. So it really takes time to create something that everyone owns. And we know that once we put it out there, that it's going to get implemented with fidelity. So just thank you for all of that hard work that team put into it. I really appreciate the fact that they just, if you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go back and look at that update. That they just attacked the number one question we're all getting. And it's probably the question I get the most from parents is, okay, I recognize that we're all in this emergency closure together. And there's been some bright spots, and there's been some real challenges with it that we've had to work through. But what happens if we're in a virtual setting again, or a hybrid in August? How will it look different? And they just threw that question right up there and attacked it. And the key that I want you to know is we're back. We have been under an emergency kind of declaration, and it all happened so sudden. But we've learned a lot, and we have a couple months to prepare for August. And I can assure you that we are working as hard as possible to make sure that when we come back in the fall, that we will be back. And what I mean by that is we will be teaching and learning. There will be direct instruction. We'll be back to grades that I know so many people, so many parents were really missing. It will be giving regular feedback, daily contact between teachers and students. And we don't get to control how we're going to be back. I mean, that's going to be dictated by the health guidelines at that time. But we will be ready to continue the excellent education that we're all used to in the fall regardless. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I think as parents, they are too. And also I want to add, Ryan, that a lot of that just means more structure. And I just want to acknowledge that because of the emergency way that we shut down, there were so many accommodations for each student and each staff member that's going, what they were dealing with in their household, that we were working through all those accommodations. Come fall, we're going to be able to have a structured day for each student. And I know from a parent's perspective, I think that's going to be appreciated.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Yeah, lots of accommodations by our teachers and our parents, which has been just remarkable. So we talked about the academics for next year and those changes and what that'll look like. The next big question I know we're all getting is about the physical changes, the health and safety protocols. Can we open on time? What is that going to look like with the number of students in class, their physical distancing, being apart, some of those questions. As you know, we're starting to get some rough guidelines from the county, CDC, and some recommendations. We also have another big factor to consider, which is the budget and, all of that. So seems like we're going to be reducing a budget, but, expenditures may be going up. So not a great equation. Just your initial thoughts. I know we still have a lot more questions than answers at this point, but what are some of your initial thoughts on all those types of things for reopening, if that is the case in the fall?
Yeah, let me start, Ryan, with the greatest challenge that we face. And this is the reality of what the COVID-19 kind of economic shutdown has caused. And that's obviously an enormous impact on our budget. As of now, the governor's budget is cutting 10% to our base funding. That's around $8 million a year for the 3 years out. So $24 million over those 3 years. That's a significant amount of money. At the same time, we're being asked to open school with measures in place, these new health measures that we're not even really sure of what they will be in the end. But we know there's significant impacts. Like, for example, right now, 6 feet apart on buses. The transportation we provide for our students with special needs, we don't have enough buses. We don't have enough manpower. There's no way that as of now we could follow that rule and successfully get all our students to school. So, and you can imagine the cost that brings with that. And so right now we are trying to continue to be in communication with the health department to stay up on the standards as they're changing and as we're moving into different phases, as we hear about these phase 1, phase 2 in LA County. And at the same time, trying to prepare for each scenario that could possibly happen, because there's no way for us to predict right now if we will be allowed physically to be back in our campuses. If we are, will it be a hybrid where there's only, allowed 12 students in a classroom based on the 6 feet? Or is it going to be all virtual again? So the key for us as a district right now is to make sure that we're planning and we're including all constituents in these conversations, so that when we get the final decision, is hopefully in July, so that we can, plan appropriately for the opening, that we're ready to go. But I just want to acknowledge and recognize that it's frustrating. We just recently did a thought exchange with our staff, and kind of the number one theme was, I'm willing to do anything. I just want to be prepared for our students when we come back in the fall. But what is it going to look like so we can properly prepare, or not spend a lot of time on a plan that's not going to happen? And we just don't control that right now. And so I just want to acknowledge that frustration. But we're working with everyone, and we're continuing to do everything possible to be able to pull the right lever when that time comes and we get that information.
Thank you, Dr. Bonasdahl. And a part of Update 22 is the parent survey. Obviously, the parent voice is so important. They've been so key in so many of these aspects. And we also recognize that people are feeling different about coming back, where we're at with all this. And so can you expand a little bit more on the purpose of the survey and kind of what we're asking from parents?
Yeah. When we started into this pandemic, one of the things we were asking from everyone is flexibility, and just to be patient and understanding during this unprecedented time. We expect that from ourselves. And so as we plan, we want to make sure that we are prepared for all of the possibilities that meet our students and our families' needs. And so, for example, one of them is, we've heard from a number of parents that say, even if we get the go ahead to open physically in the fall, I don't know if I'm comfortable sending my child back to school. And we have to recognize that everyone's in a different position in this, right? Some people have elderly parents at home that are in that vulnerable group, or for some other reason, they have a family member. So we have to recognize that everyone is in a different situation, and we want to meet those accommodations the best we can as a district. So we're asking some questions of just, right now and where we are today, because we can't predict out. And we are going to ask these questions again. So no one's giving their decision like, this is what I want for my child, and you're stuck to it. It is really just helping us plan. We just want to get a pulse for how people are feeling. So, like a question, even if we're back physically in the fall, are you comfortable sending your child back? If not, would you be interested in a full-time virtual setting? And those numbers then allow us to dictate where we want to spend our time planning for the fall. Because, if it's 50 students, that's one plan. If it's 500 students, that's a different plan. So I really encourage all of our parents to take the time to answer these questions, because it's really going to significantly help us do the best planning we can, so that everyone is pleased with what they're getting in the fall.
Thank you so much for that explanation. And just to reiterate, nobody's signing up for anything. It's just us seeking feedback, thoughts, and emotions, so we can try and provide the best experience possible, whatever that may look like in the fall. So it's a good point. We hope everyone participates in the survey so we can get their opinions in this as well. Anything else in closing, Dr. Bonasdahl? We appreciate your time as always. We're almost here at graduation, the virtual graduation, and as we wrap up.
I just want to say a few words to our seniors. This is that time of year where we all kind of get reflective and looking back at, for these students, for most of them have been in Arcadia their entire education career. I'm so incredibly proud of them. I got to watch the senior awards night last night, live streamed on YouTube. Wow, the high school staff and the Apache News just did an incredible job of maintaining that important night for those students, even if it had to be virtual. And so I'm watching that play out all across the district at our elementary schools, middle, high school, where the PTAs, parents, everyone's going that extra mile to ensure that these students still get those special recognitions, even though it looks a little different. And one of the things that I'm reminded of, I guess, to find some positive is there's no greater teacher in life than adversity. And, for the students this year, especially these seniors, no one asked to go through a global crisis and a pandemic. But what they've endured and what they've experienced and come out on this other side, they're going to take these experiences with them for the rest of their lives. And so I'm proud to see our seniors just really step up and get the most out of this unfortunate situation, but a learning situation. So I'm proud of our class of 2020.
Very well said. We're also proud of the class of 2020. They've just been so remarkable through this, and we're so appreciative of all the celebrations and shining a spotlight on the class of 2020. I encourage everyone to check out our Facebook page. You mentioned the senior awards. There's been a ton of videos ASB's done, the district has done, PTA has stepped up. So to check out those recognitions and to further support our class of 2020, check out our Facebook page, our website, and see some of that. And we really appreciate everyone's support. As always, Dr. Van Alstall, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We'll post this update on our website and send it out as well. And that's where everything has been housed on our website, aosd.net. And you can continue to follow that for more updates. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you soon, Dr. Van Alstall.
Thank you, Ryan.